Welcome everyone to a very special edition of Missing Pieces. This is an episode that I've been working towards for a very long time. If you guys don't know the backstory on this, like 3-4 weeks ago, I noticed that there was like 4,000 or 5,000 people watching this podcast. And I was like, that's really great. But I only noticed like 300 people were leaving a like on it. And I was like, man, I put my heart and soul into these videos. Why isn't anyone liking it? So I came up with this silly little thing where I said, if we get 800 likes on a video, Mrs. Brickitect would come on, because that was like the greatest reward that I can think of to get people to like the video. I'm like, what could they possibly want in this world? How about a Mrs. Brickitect episode? And weeks went by, I kept bringing it up. They started creeping up. We got to like 350, 450, and I was just about ready to give up on it. And there was one last week that I started the episode off and I said, do you guys want this to happen? And they did. They did. They not only wanted it to happen, we needed 800 likes. It's almost 1,000 right now.
Wow.
That's how bad they want you on this episode. In fact, if I would have done 1,000 likes to just have her do the podcast and vote me off entirely, they probably would have done that. But I asked you guys in a community post to give some questions or topics for us to talk about, and you guys came through with a ton of questions. So we're going to jump into those here. Oh, is there anything you want to say? I feel like I'm hogging the...
Oh, this is your thing, so.
I will say, like, she's a little nervous, just as nervous as I am. Like, I started this episode, I'm like, what am I going to say? But it's, I think so far so good. You guys can leave a like on the video if you want to do that. But we're going to jump into the questions here for the one and only Mrs. Brickitect, starting with, I think this was the most voted up question that we had on the community post from Brody's Builds. And I already know the answer to this one. I think we've talked about it a little bit in this podcast. It says, question for Mrs. Brickitect. Is there ever a time where you think Greg's passion for Lego and content creation can get a bit overboard, or is it just a little too much for you?
Yeah. All the time. He is definitely obsessed, and I think we use the word addicted. So
easily. It
can be a challenge for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I have an addictive personality, and when I go in on something, I go all in. And YouTube just has been one of those things where it's been like 8 years of that, and it's gotten like progressively worse. And now I'm doing this streaming thing again, and it's, you know, I have to dial it back sometimes, and I don't do a very good job at that. But it's balance. It's what I struggle with, and I've talked about this many times in this podcast, where my quest for balance is like the thing that I struggle with most in this world, and the person that I feel like is most negatively affected by it is her. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about that?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. It's something that you need to work on, and you know, finding that balance, and it's good to enjoy things, and I don't want to take that away from you, and I think everyone should indulge in things they enjoy. You know, it helps make life more fun and meaningful, but you definitely can overdo some things, and like you said, it's good to find that balance. Yeah,
and I recognize that. I'm going to continue working on that. That's what maybe I'll do like a weekly update. How am I finding balance? It could be like the thing that I keep on my mind and maybe get better at. But if you guys ever see me disappear permanently, you'll know what happened. Mrs. Brickitect shut me down, which hasn't happened yet, but I fear for the worst.
It won't happen.
Okay.
You're your own person. You do what you want to do.
She says that on camera. All right. The next question here for Mrs. Brickitect. I can't say this person's name. Can you help me with this? It's
Isaiah.
Is it Isaiah? Asiya. Isaiah. Wow, that's...
It could be a way of saying Isaiah.
Isaiah Awan says, question for Mrs. Brickitect. What were your first thoughts when Greg became a full-time YouTuber?
Well, he had been talking about it for a while, and he was very unhappy with his job. Oh. And I definitely did not enjoy seeing him just come home every day drained and just miserable and feeling like he was selling his soul to the devil. And so when he decided to quit his job, you know, we had saved money and, you know, worked for it, and we're solid financially, something that we had worked on for years. And so it wasn't a big deal. I really wanted him to be happy. You know, we only get one life, and if he wants to quit and do that, I enjoy my job. So, and it's enough for us. If you know, if he didn't make any money off of YouTube, we could survive. And, you know, his happiness is ultimately what was most important. Yeah.
There was a huge leap of faith when we did this. Like, I wasn't making very much money on YouTube, but the alternative was misery. Like, I took a promotion. I told you guys this story before. I took a promotion, and it was a huge mistake. I had people working for me that it was just an awful experience, and I hated my life. And it's just so crazy to go from like being so miserable to being so happy. And it's remarkable, and I do owe it all to you. And I've said this to you. It's like, if you wouldn't have given me the stability that we have, I would have never been able to take that leap to do what I'm doing now and to be where I'm at now. And it's, I mean, for me, I think it was a good investment in term, like, financially and in every way, like the time that I've had with Clark Man and stuff. A follow-up question from me to you, like, do you ever feel like it's unfair that I get to be home? Like, you said you like your job, and we're going to be having a lot more teacher-related questions. She's a teacher, by the way. Do you ever think that, like, because we've kind of reversed the roles, like oftentimes it's like the mother stays home with the kids, and then the guy goes out and does the grind?
So I think for the most part, no, I don't have like any resentment or anything like that. There have been some days where it's just kind of extra tough to go into work, and then seeing you get to stay in bed and
I'm like, hey, we're gonna go down and play Legos now.
You snuggle with Clark, and it's like, oh, I wish I could stay there and enjoy that. But ultimately, no, there's no resentment. I mean,
I've put it out there that we could just go all in on this, but
it's not my thing. I don't really like being on camera.
This is
big.
This is big. This is big. All right, let's go to the next question here. I'm trying to get another. Not all this is about me, but I'm just trying to get. I haven't kind of categorized here.
It's always about him.
It's not about me, but this one sort of is. From Brad's Life, says, "How do you truly feel about all the Lego and saving of the boxes? Like when you look over to Brickitect over there, and you see the boxes stacked to the ceilings. How do you feel about that?"
Since you have your own space, I'm okay. As long as it does not infiltrate the upstairs in the living area, which it has. But ultimately, I'm okay with it. When it came time to move, it was a bit of a pain.
Oh my God!
But
that was my pain, though.
Yeah, you handled the brunt of that.
I was the guy that was moving boxes of empty boxes.
But when our basement flooded.
Oh, trooper right here. Mrs. Brickitect literally carrying every single Lego set that I have up the stairs. Like, we just had a conveyor belt going, basically.
Yeah, that was not fun.
That made me realize just how much you do for me when you were carrying those boxes up, because it was literally everything you see in the studio and more had to go up to the second story of our house.
I can't believe how much it has accumulated over the last 2 years.
I blame these guys. I only bought I bought a fraction of this. A lot of this stuff is stuff that people sent us. Yeah. And then, like, you have the big Lego sets that I have to have, and then the big boxes and stuff. But there's going to be a day where those boxes disappear, and we will be able to, like this, ideally, if I didn't have all those boxes, we could be sitting at the bar right now doing this episode instead of here.
It's so funny because you had read Walden from Henry David Thoreau.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. And I
was going to become a minimalist.
Yeah, you were supposed to become a minimalist.
Does this look
and
like
you were
a
all
minimalist?
about, off-grid, live life in the woods. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And then you went complete opposite. Now you're like a hoarder, and you're obsessed, and you're like always on your phone or your iPad or your computer. And you've gone complete opposite direction.
Do you think someday I just need to, like, shut down and do that?
Balance. That's what we've been talking about.
I don't balance. I'm either going to be living in a tiny cabin with, like, one spoon and, like, that's it. Like, that's all I have to my name. Or I'm hoarding Lego sets.
Get a spork.
I'll get a spork. Genius. Oh, that's our next question. What is the best utensil?
Really?
It's not, no. A spork, obviously. Who would even ask that? Question from The Builders, who's a Patreon detector, by the way. The Builders 310. Supporting our family. Thank you so much. Speaking of that, can I plug? Link down below if you want to join us on Patreon. Put food on the table for Mrs. Brickitect. Okay, she puts the food on the table for me. Builder says, we all know what Greg likes to do, hoarding. What hobbies or interests do you have, Mrs. Brickitect?
Well, obviously, reading and writing.
Arithmetic.
I'm an English teacher.
Yes.
Another thing that I feel very passionate about would be health and fitness. So I'm really into nutrition, especially, and working out, and trying to find that optimal health, and learn as much as I can about the best things you can eat and how nutrition affects your brain function and that kind of stuff too, because I feel like a lot of that can be helpful for Clark and making sure he eats the right foods, even though somebody kind of goes against that.
me. She's like, here, have a banana. I'm like, here, have some Doritos.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've established thus far in this podcast, we're literally like 8 minutes into this. I'm pretty much the worst person ever, right? Like, and I think that's what these guys, all these questions are like. So, how do you deal with Greg being a complete loser? How do you live with being a hoarder? And you'll see this as we go on here. There's actually a pretty funny question that's going to be coming up here. Martin also pretty much had the same question. Do you collect something special? Being that this is kind of our hobby, this Lego thing with me and Clark, man. Is there anything that like you collect or collected even in the past?
I don't really collect anything, maybe other than just like books. I've tried to establish a decent library over the years, so when it's time for Clark to read, he can, have a nice selection of books to choose from. So, especially adolescent novels.
I liked it when we moved. It was like literally like that storage room. There's 2 totes that are yours of like your personal things that you had when you were a kid. I have like 14 and tons of boxes.
I know, and he's always on my case about me getting rid of my stuff.
We don't have any room for this. My stuff is very useful though. These Lego sets, so useful. Like little glass jars and things. Photographs from your childhood. No, I'm kidding. Okay, next question is from Matthew. He says, in one of your live streams when building the diner, this guy's going back in time. He's a brickitecter. Mrs. Brickitect said she would one day love to write a book. I was wondering if she had an idea for the book and what it might be, if she's willing to share. Be careful, though. He might be trying to steal your idea.
Not going to give too much details, but now I just received the news about schools being closed for the rest of the year, and I think this might be my time to bunker down and write a novel. I have a few ideas. I'm probably most likely going to be an adolescent novel because that's what I teach, and I just think about my students and involved in their lives, and they inspire me and give me ideas every day. And so it will most likely be an adolescent novel, probably some type of romance because hopeless romantic. But yeah, not really sure. Probably a realistic fiction.
I'm down. I'm 100% like I've wanted her to do this forever. My idea was always just like sit down for 15 minutes and write something, but like to have a block of time is I think could be very useful, and I can just pull Clark Man down here. We'll do our thing. You write your book, and when it's ready, I think we have a couple people that are ready to make an order here. We could get you to like number 500,000 on the Amazon top 100 books or something like that. But maybe if we really do a push. Here's what I'll do. I'll say, if you get Mrs. Brickitect's book to number 1, we'll have her back on the podcast again. I don't know. I don't know what else I can entice them with, but books coming. Are we going to have a date that this is coming out? Or?
I don't need that kind of pressure.
Okay. So 6 months, her book will be...
Hopefully, how about before the next school year starts?
Okay, I'm cool. All right, this question, I saw this one come up over and over and over again. From Brickman179 had the most upvoted one. Said, do you guys have any plans in terms of family for the future, or is one Clark Man enough for you? We have different answers on this one.
Stop at perfection.
I think he's an awesome little dude, but I also say the more the merrier. But I'm not the one that has to carry him all that time. And then...
I didn't have a very good pregnancy and birth and all that stuff, and I really do not want to go through that again. I know it could be different, but it also could be the same or worse. So. And
I worry, like, even when we had Clark, I was worried about like developmental issues and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, we dodged a bullet on this one. Depending, obviously it's not that common, but it can happen. And I don't know if I'd want to risk it. And I do love Clark Man and stuff, and I love our family unit the way it is. So I'm down with him, but if another child were to come into our life, I would be very stoked about that. Maybe we'll just stick to dogs for now. Next question comes from Brooke. Follow-up question on Clark Man. Were there any other names you almost named Clark? And I put this one in here just so you guys could laugh at us. What was our other name that we were thinking about naming Clark?
Kal-El.
Kal-El. You DC attackers will know what we're talking about here. So Kal-El, also known as Clark Kent, also known as Superman. And that's where we got the inspiration for his name, Clark. Yeah. She loved Superman, Smallville, the show.
Lois and Clark.
And Clark. And Clark, I had a friend, Clark, from elementary school. Was a good kid. We were trying to find a name that we like didn't know anyone by that name, and it wasn't like ruined by someone that we knew. Like, you know,
There's always that,
you're like,
too.
Dave, I hate that guy, Dave from school. He was such a jerk. So you didn't want to like have a name that was ruined, and it felt like Clark was the perfect one. My computer's about to die, so that's a thing. We don't edit this, babe. This is how we do things.
Oh, jeez.
I am running a very old MacBook here, as I mentioned before, and it doesn't like running all these components and things. So apologize for that little interruption there. But we're still good to go here. So Kal-El was the name. The next questions, these ones kind of go off of being an English teacher. So if you're in the market to be an English teacher now or in the future, I think these questions are going to help you out. This is from Alexis Gallery. Said, did Mrs. Brickitect always want to be an English teacher? Because I personally knew I wanted to teach English when I was 7. Now I'm 16 with the same dream.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats. I hope you follow through and become a teacher, because we need more good teachers we can get. It's so much better. Yeah. So I always, ever since 4th grade, I had a really awesome teacher, Mr. Long, and he inspired me to want to become a teacher. But then I kind of went back and forth. There was a period of time in middle school where I thought about being a chiropractor, which is very different. And then I went back to the idea of being a teacher. And then I was discouraged by one of my friend's fathers said, oh, every woman wants to be a teacher. You'll never get a job and all this. And I was easily influenced when I was younger. So I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that. And then I went for massage therapy. And so when I graduated high school, I went to Mount Nittany Institute of Natural Health and got my certification for massage therapy. And I did that for a little while, but ultimately that wasn't my passion. I really enjoyed it, but I really, really wanted to go back and be a teacher. And I wasn't really sure what kind of teacher I wanted to be. I kind of narrowed it down to 3 different subjects: Spanish, art, or English. And I thought English would probably make me the most marketable, and it would also allow me to bring in other subjects, because I love learning and I love all kinds of different topics, not just one in particular. And English is one of those subjects that you can bring in anything. Like I can read about, different science topics because I love anatomy and physiology. I also love psychology and history, and all of those things can be brought into the English classroom. So I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think one thing you said there, and it could help a lot of people out there, because there's a lot of younger people that watch us, all 13 years and older, of course. But to have someone in your life, maybe someone that you respect or admire, to tell you that you can't or shouldn't do something that you're truly like passionate about, that's very damaging. And like that possibly set you back a couple years. Obviously you had experiences with that.
Yeah.
But
it all
like,
worked out,
what if
though.
that person had been like, I think he'd be really great at that. That could have completely changed your trajectory.
Yeah. But it actually worked out for me because the friends that I met when I went back in college, had I gone earlier, I wouldn't have met them. And they are lifelong friends that I cherish. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many people that I connected with throughout the last decade that really, I'm so thankful to have them in my life. And had I had a different time frame, I might not have connected with them. So I'm happy with the way everything worked out.
But what about the damage that could have come from you never fulfilling this dream? Like that person, gets it out of you, then you take this different path, and then
I don't know.
Someday you have regrets or whatever.
Everyone needs to have that time to reflect and grow and, come to that realization that, you can't listen to naysayers, and you need to listen to your own, inner instincts or, inner consciousness that tells you and points you in the direction of where you're meant to be.
I think that's...
And it's different for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Follow your dreams, kids. Let's see here.
Not to sound cliche.
Yeah, follow your dreams. Titanium J wants to know, what advice would you give to someone studying to become a teacher? So again, this is teacher-related stuff.
Patience. You have to have a lot of patience. Things have definitely changed over the years, the way that kids, I don't know, from when we were in school.
When we were in school, back in our day,
yeah.
I felt like kids were respectful.
There were some disrespectful ones, but ultimately when the teacher asked you to do something, you would do it.
The bad kids in our school would be potentially good kids in
in my school. Yeah.
I mean, not to reveal too much, but it's
Yeah.
like some of these things and like the disrespect that comes from it. I don't know if it's just the culture or parents or what it is, but
I don't know.
if Clark,
A
if
lot
Clark
of it,
ever
I
acts like that,
feel. A lot of it, I feel like, is like technology and social media and just what cell phones have done to people.
oh, that would have been a great question for someone to ask.
Because that's ultimately my number one nemesis in the classroom is trying to keep students off of their phones. And I just can't compete with TikTok and Snapchat and, you know, things that are much more appealing to people. They want to be involved socially with their peers through that. And you know, no matter how interesting I try to make my material, that combating that is the hardest thing.
Yeah. I think if I was in school right now, I would have that same struggle. Like, it'd be so tempting to pull out your phone.
I can't even have you keep your phone off at the dinner table.
I was going to put my phone out. I was going to be like, oh, what was that? What were you saying? No, yeah, it's to be connected to all these things. And especially when you have like comments coming in and your Instagram and all these things, it's like,
people are always giving me updates on how many likes they have on their TikToks and
Brickitect
all
on
that
TikTok,
stuff.
by the way, guys. If you want to follow me, I think I'm up to like 2 followers right now. I do have 1 TikTok out there. Is there going to be a Mrs. Brickitect TikTok?
I doubt it.
We all knew the answer. No one asked that question. That was one we already knew. Next question comes from Lego Master. We love your show, by the way. We just watched it last night. He says, how is she doing with not being able to see her students? Like, is she missing them? Also, what grade does she teach?
I teach 11th grade, mainly American literature, and I am absolutely devastated.
I would have been like, peace, I'm out. That would have been me.
No, I'm trying not to cry right now.
This is what a good teacher is like. A teacher that actually cares.
I
You can
know,
cry on this episode because
I'm not going to.
I cry
I'm gonna
nearly
hold it
every
together. But yeah, I ever since the school closures, I've been trying not to be just devastated by it. I know I complain about the kids and their behaviors and stuff, but ultimately I love them so much. They're like my adopted kids each year, and just the thought of not having them in class when I come back to school just is really tough.
I feel terrible for all these kids, honestly. As much as kids kind of hate school and stuff, especially
I feel terrible
for
all the
seniors.
kids that worked so hard for their sports and athleticism and even like the music department and art, all of these extracurricular things. The kids, you know, I see them after school in the fitness center just working so hard, and then
That's
you know
gone.
their prom, their senior year, so many things. Graduation, don't even know if we're going to be able to host graduation this year.
You could do a Zoom call with like 3,000
gosh,
people in a
it's-
Zoom call.
My heart just goes out to them. It's just it's tragic.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of tragedies happening around our country and around the world right now, and just part of the mix, the sacrifice and hard times we're going through.
It's easy to say that, to be like, yeah, I know there's worse going on, but there's you have to look at it from your perspective and like feel like a little bit of selfishness with it. Like, this has ruined my senior year.
Yeah.
You know, like this is, I was going to be a star baseball player and now I can't even play baseball or whatever. And it's just.
I know Clark Mann was going to do T-ball.
We're going to do T-ball. Easter's ruined. Like, I know the big picture is like there's people dying, but it's also like how many times do you have a chance to do these things? Like, how long is Clark going to believe in the Easter Bunny? How many times can you get together with your family? Like, you never know what the future holds, and it sucks to have to give up. No matter how long this time period is, to have to give that up, it just really bums me out. But what can you do? You know, I just keep pushing on. Do a bunch of live streams. She's like, let's see here. Follow-up question on your teaching for Mr. Cringe Master says, is there... we may have to correct his English here. Is there any pupils? Would it be, are there any pupils or is there any pupils?
Are there any pupils?
Are there any pupils in her class that know anything about this channel? They do, and I actually I meet them. I meet them sometimes. Like, went to skate park. There was a kid there, and that's one of the big reasons we should probably explain why the Mrs. Brickitect channel doesn't exist right now, or it does exist, just the videos are private.
Yeah. I privatize the videos just
Oh,
because kids pull up the videos when you know they have the technology in other classrooms, and then I hear about it, and it's just
They realize you're a YouTube star.
I'm not a YouTube star.
Okay. The real tragedy, though, is that your channel is full of so many gems. So many great videos are on there, and they're all private right now.
Yeah.
Classic moments from live streams. There's all these little spoofs that we
I
did.
don't know. I might unprivatize
You could bring
them.
it back. Your students miss you. They could see some of your building skills on there.
I'm just worried if they're gonna like screenshot a weird moment
Or you're like
or
this.
turn me into a meme. They've turned another teacher into a meme who was
God.
on this. He was on this show one time, like it was national television, and they screenshotted him and put not so kind things underneath it.
They called him a Florida man.
Oh my gosh.
All right, next question comes from Dobby the house elf. Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Is Dobby's from Harry Potter, I think. You're supposed to be the Harry Potter detective.
I knew you were gonna say something.
Do you know anything about this set right here? Do you know anything about Fantastic Beasts?
Oh, I like that.
Clarky built that, by the way. That isn't from Harry Potter.
No,
that's
Fantastic Beasts.
You might know some of those characters, but
I believe I watched that.
I was gonna make a joke when you said about writing your book. I was gonna you should make a book about this little wizard boy, and his name's Harry, and he lives. But then you said romance, and I was like,
yeah,
okay,
I'm not into the fantasy.
that gets weird
so much.
And I couldn't even make a proper joke because I don't know enough about Harry Potter that I could have said anything more than that. So it
Probably
didn't
wouldn't
work
have
out.
gotten the joke anyway. Cause
Speaking of jokes, Dobby says, I ask, what is it like to teach and come home to 2 children and a bear?
ha, that's a
I don't
good
know what
question.
you're getting at here, Dobby. Was like, hey mom, look what we built today.
Yeah, I don't. What's it like?
And Bear, by the way, is Roxy Bear.
Yeah, Roxy.
I think
our dog.
everybody knows Roxy Bear.
Roxy's great. Clark's great.
We're still recording here.
I don't know. It's
How about
different. It's a challenge
Dobby?
sometimes because someone just likes to talk about YouTube and Lego and I don't know. For me, I'd like to talk about other things besides those.
I'm like, you're not going to believe this. We got 800 likes on Missing Pieces. No. How about we rephrase Dobby's question here to say,
Okay.
what is it like to come home to a loving family that's already home waiting for you and a husband that has made dinner just for you and it's
have
hot.
made dinner.
You got a hot plate waiting for you as you
Yeah.
walk in the door.
That's pretty nice.
I may be slacking on some of the other chores and things.
I know.
because
Ever since we've been on quarantine, you
I've been
haven't done anything with the house other than after I pester you to take out the garbage.
I have a duty to these people out there that really have nothing to try to entertain them and give them some type of
I
value.
have a duty to your family too, dear.
You guys are, oh man. Well, we're going to start a new podcast called Therapy Sessions with Mr. and Mrs. Brickitect, where we could do this for free, and then people could give us their advice.
Yeah.
They're all. I feel like this episode is really been against me. You guys can decide on that though. We do have one last question, and this one is a doozy. This is from. I mean, the name pretty much reflects what this question is. Lego Hot Dog Guy says, "This is a question for both of you. What makes life meaningful? P.S. I hope you and your family stay healthy and we can get through this together. We will, Lego Hot Dog Guy. But what makes life meaningful?" I felt like this would be the perfect way to end this question and answer series.
I think the relationships in your life, if you have strong, positive relationships, that can get you through any hardship. But ultimately, not just that, because I know sometimes, especially if there's younger people listening and you're kind of stuck at home and maybe your home life might not be the best or your most favorite environment. And then maybe you could try to reach out to have like a positive friend group or, just, look within yourself and do things that you find meaningful. And it can be meditation. It could be exercise. I use that as an outlet to get out any frustrations. I also, write in a journal or writing in general. That's something that I do. Just finding those things. Like if you're, especially this time when we're all stuck at home and you're struggling, like maybe you guys with the, your Lego and your live streaming, those things that you enjoy that keep you on a positive path and trying to find, that happiness and meaningfulness. And because sometimes it's just hard, especially when our life is so chaotic. There's so many things that are thrown at us on a daily basis and so many people with opinions of saying you should do this or you should buy this. And, you have to take that time for self-reflection and find out what truly, sings to your soul, what makes you happy and what you find meaningful, because it is different for everybody.
Wow. That was really good.
Oh, thanks.
I can't compete with that. I was just gonna say maybe like, obviously relationships are important, your family, because way I like try to think of things, and this is coming from my family life is, and the time that I've had with my parents, is that you don't know how much time you're going to have, so try to make the most of what you do have, and live every moment to the best that you can, even if that involves like having to go to a job that you don't like. Like I've been there. But like try to find value in even like the small things and enjoy what you can, and try not to live with regrets. Like a big thing with me, and even things that have come up here, is like people want you to do certain things or act a certain way. I think you should try to be true to yourself, and maybe that's what I find makes life meaningful is playing to your own tune and living the life that you've imagined. So that's what I was thinking. But that's the end of the questions, and that's the end of the Mrs. Brickitect episode. If you guys, is there going to be like a regularly scheduled thing? Like we're 29 episodes in, so we can have you back on like episode 58 if you want to come back. That would be like, what, like 7 months from now?
I don't know.
I don't know. How many likes do we need to get you back on?
You're the one that's asking for the likes.
I know.
I'll have you know that this was news to me. He never asked me.
She was ready to come on. Okay, I was like,
conversed with me in any type of way about.
I was like,
just after the fact, like, hey, by the way, I told the audience, or
we need
people
likes.
that we need 800 likes, and you're gonna come on. I'm like, oh, am I?
I thought, like, we've had fun doing streams together before. She's not doing anything right now. I've been watching this TV show that she's been watching like endlessly.
Excuse me.
I felt like you would enjoy it.
I have been doing more than just watching this show.
Okay.
They're probably gonna wonder what show. It's Outlander.
Outlander. I tried the first episode.
There's a hot Scot named Jamie on there.
I saw some scenes in it that were a little inappropriate for Mrs. Brickitect's eyes. But okay, so you're having fun doing that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I thought,
I haven't binged on a show in a while.
The truth is, I don't even care about the likes. I don't care about the number. It's not about algorithms. It's not about any of that crap. Here's what it's about. It's about me coming down to this studio once a week and pouring everything that I have into an episode, and to have all those people watch it, and they can't even like. They don't even click that little button to say, you know what, I at least appreciated this. And I had to bribe them with the most precious gift that I could ever.
I'll watch something and I don't like it. I don't know.
Well, I'm assuming if you watch a 30-minute episode of a dude talking about something, like, you're probably invested. So it's just
I guess I don't. See,
I don't have
see, that's the other thing. I'm not really into YouTube. I use it like as a teaching tool. But other than that, maybe some exercise videos, TED Talks.
Like actual useful things. Not a guy sitting and talking about his life and Lego and
really
anything else.
Really don't watch it other than for those things.
I think my big problem that I have here is that I don't have a culture on this channel of the like thing, where you start a video and you're like, make sure you smash that like button. I need 40 billion. So I started doing that with this, and I don't think I'm going to do it again. Here's the deal. If you want to ever come on this podcast again, you're more than welcome. You're actually my second guest. Clark Man was on once before, but he was hungry during his episode, so it was like it was a short one. So I would say you've been my best guest so far. It's usually a solo thing, and I'm happy to have you. Where can people find you on YouTube? That's always what people say in podcasts, but you don't even have like a thing, do you?
No.
You can find Mrs. Brickitect, youtube.com/Mrs. Brickitect. It's just a channel with nothing on it at this moment. But I
might reopen the videos. I don't know.
You have until Sunday to think about it. There's so many gems on there. Oh my God, you guys are gonna love her channel. Smash the. No, we're not going into that. I want to thank everyone.
You just said you weren't going to do that.
Yeah, we're not doing that. I'm not sinking to the level of telling anybody to smash any buttons. If you want to hit a button, you can do that. If you don't want to, if you just sat here and watched us talk for 30 minutes and that's what you got out of it, I'm down with that. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode. We're going to be back next week with our regular episode. I'm assuming Mrs. Brickitect-less. Makes me very sad. I'll be down here all by myself. You'll like it, though, because you can watch Highlander or Outlander, whatever it's called.
Well, they are Highlanders in the Outlander.
I got it. Okay. All right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next... Oh, here's how I end it. We'll find you... Here, say it together.
I don't know what you're saying.
We'll find you in the next missing pieces. We'll find you in the next missing pieces. Yes.